Welcome back to the shop, everybody. So glad you could be with me here today. Your good buddy Walter at the workbench. The wood I got here tonight is willow. More precisely, I believe it to be black willow. It's a soft wood. A weed tree, grows everywhere, especially where you don't want it to grow. So here's a situation where we've got a large concavity over the top here. So this would be a situation where you can use the scrub plane a little more on a diagonal across the middle. See, we're just hitting the top. It's getting flatter back here. If willow is clear, it's a soft wood and it's easy to work, and you don't need lots of fancy settings on your plane. You'll get big long shavings real quick and a smooth surface. There you go. And that's just with my single blade homemade plane. Still quite a bit of concavity there on the bottom, and it's convex over the top. So let's knock some more of that off. That's kind of an interesting pattern. That'd be a nice little bench top with that pattern on there. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about when you go to look for something that you know you have tucked away somewhere, and you wanted to show it to somebody, and you can't find it. Does that ever drive you crazy? Well, my OCD kicks in, and I actually become obsessed with finding it. Everything else just stops. Well, I found what I was looking for, but I also found so much more. We'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to show you what this wood turns out like when it's completely planed and surfaced. And to show those people, whoever those people are, who don't believe you can do woodworking without power tools. Yes, it's harder. Yes, it takes knowledge and understanding. Yes, you're going to get a physical workout. But that's part of life. Nothing good in life comes for free. Just ask some of the people who have won millions and millions and millions of dollars only to have their life totally destroyed because they didn't earn the money. They didn't know how to manage it. The smart people who win money turn it all over to a management company. They walk away. And they just take the interest. They leave the rest alone. Getting there. Look at that. That's a really pretty wood. I made a bookshelf out of this one time. There's a lot of streaky colors in it. I would compare it in hardness to probably eastern white pine, maybe alder, basswood. It's a softwood. But like I say, you get those streaky colors in it. That's good enough for now. I've been working on this plane this week. Made this one just before I made this one, but I haven't been using it. It's more of a smoother. So I've been finishing it up. Takes a much finer cut so you can compare the shavings. But it leaves the most beautiful, sublime surface. So that's Black Willow, everybody. See, I gotta be real careful with this one. Here's something. You ever get to planing, all right, and you're planing along. Let's see if we can't get a little heavier shaving. You're planing along and you don't take the shaving and toss it, and you pull back without lifting the plane, and your shavings get all jammed up down here. It happens to all of us. So that's why you see so many people take their shavings and toss them. They don't want them back in. Another way around that is, like I've said before, you tilt your plane and bring it back. That way you don't run the risk of pulling the shaving back in. It's work habits. That's all it is. It's work habits. So there we go. Black Willow. Not Black Widow, but Black Willow. So now, let me get you a close-up of that. Okay? That's beautiful. Like I say, it's not heavy like cherry. It's maybe between basswood and poplar. All right. So today, I was looking all over for some tools that belonged to my family many years ago. Well, the one tool, I knew exactly where it was. It was out here in the workshop. It's my great-grandfather on my grandmother's side. His name was Poje, P-O-J-E. They lived in an area of what is now Slovenia, but at that time was Yugoslavia, and before that it would flip-flop between the area of Austria and Hungary. So it's all part of the Austria-Hungary Empire. So my dad used to tell me stories of them making buckets. And I don't know if there's any maker's mark on here. I'll look a little closer, but he talked about making buckets. And he helped with that as a child. So there would have been two of these. There would have been a straight one for working flat areas, and then of course this one, which you would clean out the centers of the staves of the bucket, and then you could use it actually on the other side to clean off the round side. So that would be a spoke shave. But the item that I was going crazy trying to find was this plane. That plane, like I said, it was part of my family heritage, and prior to World War II, this plane and this draw knife were part of the family estate of my grandfather Poya. And he was a timber buyer and a woodworker. He would travel back and forth across the Atlantic Ocean and buy logs here in America and take them back to Europe. Sometimes they'd end up in Germany, sometimes they would end up in Austria, sometimes they'd make their way all the way back into Yugoslavia. Or it might have been Slovenia back then. I have to look at the history books. But if you look at this plane, first off, you can see they use this quite a lot. It doesn't feel like it's a very hard wood. It's lightweight. And I'm not even sure if possibly he made it. I don't know. It could be factory made. It's pretty unique. If you look, there's scribe mark here for the circle, and there is a scratch bead mark here, here to give it detail. I'm not sure if that's the original wedge because this looks like it might be apple, some sort of fruit wood, and the blade does no longer fit. The body has shrunk that much. So I looked at the blade real carefully, and it says Weiss and Son, and then it's W-E-I-N, which that's Wien, which is Vienna, and then there's some more letters down here, I don't know, but it probably has to do with being Austrian made. And I'm not sure exactly if this was part of this, but if you look on the back, I don't know if you can see them, there are lines. Those lines tell me that this originally was a scraper plane blade, a toother, T-O-O-T-H-I-N-G, toothing plane. So those grooves would have went all the way down to the tip, and the blade would have sat in a plane fairly steep. So I'm kind of wondering if this blade belongs to this plane, or if that's just how it was found when my father and mother visited. Either way, this is a piece of history. And my mom's been gone for 20 plus years. And then this was wrapped up in paper, and you have a note from her. So this is a piece of history. But on to something even more interesting. I found this. 1991 Fine Woodworking Calendar. The best woodwork from Design Book 5. and a stack of Woodshop news from 1992 on. It's kind of interesting to look back through this because from about let's think now, about 1973, 74 is when I started getting interested in woodworking as a youth. But these actually were mailed here, and we've been here for 31 years. So it's pretty interesting to look through here and see the advertisements, the stories. This is when mail order was really mail order. You had a card in here for subscription, but you also had a card. Some of you remember these, the reader service cards. If you found an advertiser that you were interested in, you'd circle their number on the card. Remember I said postcards? So there you go, that would be a postcard. No postage necessary if mailed in the USA. I wonder what would happen if I fill that out today. Circle all the circles and send it back. That would be a hoot. But at last, a truly portable one-man sawmill, the Betterbuilt Corporation, Woburn Street in Wilmington, Massachusetts. Let's see if we see anything that's still applicable today. Oh, look at this! Some of the early advertising for the Craig jig. There's one. Lignomat moisture meters. That's what I always use. I've had them for years. Probably since they came out. But it's pretty interesting. Black and white. You know, they'd highlight an artist. And they'd do a story on him, a project that he's working on. And here's where IWF 92. So these are going to get donated to my local wood shop, community wood shop. What do we have here? Wendell Castle. Wendell Castle. Pretty amazing. So it's amazing what you find when you're looking for something that you can't find, and then you find it. Well, that's about it for today. Kind of an unusual. I'll leave you with a picture of the plane and the spoke shave. But it's kind of interesting to see what you find when you weren't expecting it. And I was looking for these because I wanted to show them to my boys and to my grandkids. But I'm sure you all have your treasures. Something your dad, your uncle, a grandparent, great-grandparent, somebody in your family gave you that possibly you can't restore and use, but something that you'll just never part with. Something that perhaps you'll put in your will, that it gets passed on to the next generation with a little story. So head out in your shop, or maybe your office, in your bedroom, in your attic, in your garage, somewhere. See what you can find that you don't expect to find. Go have some fun. Make some shavings. Walter out.